So Anthony Richardson was the fourth overall player chosen in the 2023 draft and the third quarterback behind, of course, Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud, and ahead of Will Levis, as the Indianapolis Colts decide to bypass Levis, the strong arm Levis, who many people had ranked, neck and neck and even ahead of Richardson, taking what many considered the ultimate gamble in selecting the very raw, only 13 starts in college, Richardson, fourth overall. So this is the Fantasy Sports Plus. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe, hit the notification, like buttons. I shared with you guys the news that my 2023 Fantasy Football Draft Guide is now available. Both here on the channel page. There's an ebook version for $9.99 that I can email you directly, instantly, or like an hour or so after I see your payment, and I check it every hour. And then the other option is through Amazon. It has posted, I believe, on Amazon, $12.99, and shipping, whatever shipping is on Amazon if you're not a Prime member, for the paperback book. It's in a book form, not magazine. I've always done book form books. Magazines can be a lot more expensive to produce, but so that's available as well. Now, as far as Richardson is concerned, there's a lot of moving parts. In fantasy football terms, though, Richardson is very exciting. I've talked nonstop since the start of last season about how dual threat quarterbacks are now all the rave in fantasy football, and that you need to get one of these guys for next season. So out with the Aaron Rodgers, the Matthew Staffords, the Tom Bradys, the Derek Carrs, and last season we saw all these guys come in below expectations, sometimes way below expectations. And the problem with these particular kind of quarterbacks is, if, not being runners, if they throw a lot of interceptions, the passing game is not working, they can't do anything on the ground to overcome, some ugly passing numbers. Whereas somebody like a Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson, Daniel Jones, you can add to that, Deshaun Watson. These are guys who can create both on the ground and through the air, so they won't have those bust fantasy football weeks like we saw from Brady and Stafford throughout the course of last season, even Jared Goff on the road. So, Richardson is going to be the next one of this wave. And, he's a tall guy. He's big. He absolutely destroyed the combine. I don't need to go over that again. We all know that he was an absolute stud at the combine. But in terms of comps, you're looking at Justin Fields 2.0, Lamar Jackson 2.0. That's what Richardson is. He's a electric runner. He, depending how quickly he gets on the field this season, he could run for 1,000 yards as a rookie. The problem with him is that he's incredibly raw. And there's been some very ugly cases looking at Mitch Trubisky, looking at Sam Darnold, some guys who have not, Mark Sanchez, guys who didn't play a lot in college who completely busted out in the NFL, colossal draft busts, all those guys, all three of those guys were. And Richardson with only 13 career starts, that is a very low number to take into the NFL, and historically it has not gone well for those particular players. And Richardson too, not an accurate passer. He was very shaky throwing the football. Release point all over the place. Didn't always set his legs properly. There's a lot of mechanical things that need to be cleaned up with Richardson. We're hearing Cam Newton comparisons. Newton threw the ball better than Richardson in college and coming into the NFL, and that's why he started from week one. I could see it from a running standpoint. Richardson's even a better runner than Cam Newton probably will ever be. So, and Newton was a great runner. But from a fantasy football perspective, yes, you're going to draft Anthony Richardson, not as a starter. You want him as a backup. Remember, last season, Justin Fields was drafted as a backup midway through the season. He became a top five starter the rest of the way, while he tailed off in the playoffs as injuries piled up. He was a league winner for the time that he was lighting things up in October, November, and into midway point of December. And that's where Richardson, I think, can help you out next season with his running. And whatever he does, through the air is going to be considered a bonus. I think Gardner Minshew, who's very capable, he's a guy that can start for a handful of teams in the NFL. I think he'll start the first 2 or 3 games, maybe the month of September. But Jim Irsay's already said he wants to get Richardson on the field as quickly as possible. Results be damned. Speed up the process in terms of his development. That's what's going to happen there. So Anthony Richardson, yes, he should be drafted everywhere as a backup, just on the running side of things. But let's keep expectations in check here just a little bit, as he's going to go through some struggles. All right, again, hit that subscribe, hit the notification button, more videos, draft analysis on the way.